JoshCast, dun 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 dun, no, it's the podcast that should be cancelled, dun 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 dun, no, and I shouldn't say that about the podcast, dun 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 dun, no, I should learn to have more confidence, dun 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 dun, in myself, and be positive and proactive, dun 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 dun, JoshCast, dun 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 dun, should be cancelled. All right, another exciting episode of JoshCast. I'm actually redoing this episode. I tried doing a version of this earlier, but I threw it out because I found that I was literally just reading a Wikipedia page without doing any preparation, and it was getting a little boring. And I thought to myself, I can't put this on the internet. I can't give this to the world. The world doesn't need this. I am trying to help the world, not destroy it. So, where am I at right now? I went to dinner tonight. I thought I need to watch my health because I'm flipping out because Bill Paxton passed away. Very sad. But whenever somebody passes away who I know of, I immediately worry about my own mortality. And I immediately think that I have whatever they had. So now I'm afraid about having heart problems. So I thought, okay, I need to eat healthy. So I ordered a salad. And I felt great about myself because I even got the dressing on the side. I mean, it was just lettuce. I was grazing. I went out and I ate the grass. That's all I did. Still felt a little hungry. So then I ordered egg rolls and a chocolate flourless cake with vanilla paste. And this is the problem that I have with salads. Salads are more unhealthy for me than any other food. Because as soon as I eat a salad, I say to myself, okay, I've been healthy. Now I can cheat for the next week. The salad is the gateway drug for me to the worst possible things I can eat. So I should avoid salads altogether. I'd probably be healthier if I did that. I had the flourless chocolate cake. It was heaven. It was, oh God, it was good. It was good. You'd think with the absence of flour, there'd be a problem, but they figured it out. Sometimes I think all chocolate cake should be flourless, but then what would that do? You need a good balance of flour and flourless. Because sometimes there's that kind of chalky aftertaste that the flourless cake has, which is okay in small doses. But then I want the moist flour full cake. Flourless chocolate cake with it was like a vanilla sauce. So it was delicious. As soon as I tasted it, I said two things to myself. Number one, this is delicious. Number two, I may as well just drink an entire glass of milk. That's how much milk is in this. And I knew that as soon as I ate this, that there would be consequences. I always roll the dice on this because sometimes it takes a day for the consequences to catch up with me. Sometimes, as in the case of tonight, it took literally an hour. And I realized that I think some people, when they want to feel alive, they kind of take risks. And they'll, jump out of a plane, do parachuting, they'll climb to the top of Everest. I think for me, it's eating delicious desserts that I know I'm allergic to. That's my risk. That's my death-defying risk. That's how I feel alive. That's how I roll the dice, baby. And that is when I do that. And it is a risk because I never know when it will strike. And it's even gotten to the point where if I know I don't have to drive in the morning or I don't have to be anywhere and I'll be near a toilet, I know, okay, this is when I roll the dice. And that's why that's why I actually hate driving places now. That's why if I know, like if I know I have to drive to Long Beach or something in the morning, a part of me hates it because I know, I can't cheat tonight. I got to be careful. I got to only have the salad. I have to restrain myself. It's frankly, if I had the choice between seeing the world and eating chocolate cake, I'm going with chocolate cake. I can YouTube the world at this point. Transition. transition. So a couple weeks ago, I kind of went through the Wikipedia page of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and I want to do that. No, I did it with Thundercats a few weeks ago. That's right. I got to keep my facts straight, and I want to do that today with He-Man. This is a cartoon that I grew up on, and what I remember about it is that I really was fixated with He-Man's sword. Phallic reference, probably, and I think I had the sword. Maybe I think I did as a toy. And I remember my mom was teaching me about violence and about, that swords are a very violent thing and they kill people. And I immediately felt guilty about having the sword. And I was like, oh, even swords kill people. She said, yeah, it's a very violent weapon. And and that ruined the sword for me. That's the one fun thing was my toy sword, and then now I got to go around thinking, I think her thinking on it was just know the consequences of your actions. So it made pretend. There was guilt already associated with playing pretend now. But I suppose it was for the best that happened, because now I know that that a sword can kill people, and that's why I don't play with swords anymore. That and the fact that I wouldn't want to spend the money on a sword, and I would be afraid of injuring myself, frankly, with a sword at this point, at the rate I'm at. But enough of that. Enough of the tangent. On to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Okay. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is an American animated television series produced by Filmation, based on Mattel's toy line Masters of the Universe. And I was reading, too, that the guy who came up with the original He-Man toy, his thinking was, if it was easy to sell, then that would be 90% of the battle. So he strove to create the most generic possible action figure that he could do. And that's what he came up with, He-Man. The most generic character. That's why He-Man is named He-Man. That's all there is to it. And I think, and he was saying you could throw him in any situation, and the character's so generic, you could throw him in any situation, and it would work. And I think he's right about that. I think you could put He-Man anywhere. You could put He-Man in When Harry Met Sally. He-Man could play Harry's best friend, telling Harry, listen, I think you have feelings for this woman and you're in denial about it. And Harry could say, you need to put on pants. We can't go out to eat without people looking. Please put on pants, and you need to cut your hair. You have a female haircut, and it's confusing everyone. Unless you feel that that's who you are on the inside, in which case you're loved and accepted, especially in New York. We're a very liberal town. But you got to make some choices here. Most generic character, He-Man. And at one point, apparently, they sued Mattel, or they sued the toy company because they thought that He-Man was ripping off Conan the Barbarian. And I don't think that's fair, because He-Man has a haircut that looks like Velma from Scooby-Doo, and Conan the Barbarian's hair is much more flowy like Daphne from Scooby-Doo. So it's two different things. But let's look at the synopsis of He-Man for those listeners out there who don't know about the story. Let's talk about it. The show takes place on the fictional planet of Eternia. Eternia, that's a great name for a planet, Eternia. Very optimistic name. Especially when you consider that we're flowing towards maximum entropy, and I don't think anything really is going to be permanent. I mean, Eternia goes against the notion of impermanence. It's not very Buddhist. On the other hand, perhaps everything ultimately is eternal, and so maybe naming the planet Eternia is creating a metaphor of eternity. There could be something there. I don't know. Either way, it's. I feel like when they were deciding what to name the planet, they said, let's call it Eternia. And they said, yeah, that's good. Let's be happy. Let's assume it's going to work out. Eternia is a planet of magic, myth, and fantasy. But here's my question. If you're living in it, if you're living in a fantasy, isn't it reality, technically? And wouldn't then the fantasy, what kind of fantasy adventures would He-Man watch if he went to the movies? Would When Harry Met Sally be the fantasy for He-Man? He'd be like, oh, God, imagine a world without magic. Wouldn't that be great? Imagine a world where I could just date and just worry about a mortgage. Now that's a fantasy. The lead character in He-Man is Prince Adam, the young son of Eternia's rulers, King Randor and Queen Marlena. Marlena, I feel like, sticks out as a name. It doesn't quite fit in with the other. Adam, okay, there's kind of a biblical overtone for that. Perhaps the chosen one. Randor, that sounds alien and regal, and yet somehow not earthly. And then Queen Marlena. Marlena sounds like the wife of a New Jersey senator. This is my wife, Marlena. She and I were on the boardwalk just the other day. I assure you, the fur that she's wearing is fake. Trust me, it's not real fur. Don't throw blood on it. Whenever Prince Adam holds the sword of power aloft and proclaims, by the power of Grayskull, he is endowed with fabulous secret powers. The fabulous secret powers is in quotes. That is what He-Man actually said. He used the actual term, fabulous secret powers. And I applaud him for using the word fabulous. That you have to be comfortable in your masculinity to use the word fabulous, especially in the early 80s. Good for him, He-Man. Good for you. And he did. Whenever he said by the power of Grayskull, he would turn into He-Man. And that's... I always wondered, if he... What happens if he tripped over the words? Because sometimes, you get tired, if he said by the hour of Grayskull instead of the power of Grayskull. Do you think Grayskull knows the intent? Okay, he meant the power of Grayskull. Give him the powers. Or... is it is magic the letter of the law? He said hour of Grayskull. We can't do anything. That's what? What did he say? He didn't say power of Grayskull, did he? No. Did he say? No, he said hour of Grayskull. I don't know what that means. I'm sure, that he didn't say power of Grayskull. We have specific orders from the sorceress. We don't give him the power unless he says power of Grayskull. What did he just say? Oh, he corrected himself. Power. Okay, so he wanted the power of Grayskull. Okay, give him the power. Give him the power. Give him the power. Together with his close allies, Battle Cat, who undergoes similar transformation from being Adam's cowardly pet tiger Cringer. I'm sorry, pet tiger Cringer, not pet tire. That's a whole different cartoon. And then the sorceress, Tila, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Man-at-Arms, great name as well. Not very specific when you have an entire army. I feel like there would be some confusion there. Get me Man-of-Arms. We're all Men-of-Arms. The Man-of-Arms, not a Man-of-Arms. Gotcha. And then Orko, who's, I think, got some kind of mystical elf thing that has no torso. He floats around. And here's what I love about Orko, too, by the way. He wears a giant... It looks like a sweatshirt to me, with an O on it, presumably for Orko. And that's, what? He's his own greatest fan. Good for him. He's his own cheerleader. It would never dawn on me to do that, to wear a shirt that says J on it. They said, yeah, you know what? I'm my own fan. I'm a Josh fan. I cheer for Josh. Sis boom ba, sis boom Josh. That's what I say. Good for Orko to do that. That's his only shirt. I feel like somebody got him that shirt. Here's another possibility. Somebody got him that shirt for his birthday. And that's the only shirt he has. People. But because he's magic, I think he's able to Febreze it. Or he has his magic spell that's the equivalent of Febreze. So it always smells okay. And he doesn't have legs. Here's the other weird thing about Orko. I don't know. We never see what's under the big sweatshirt. And so I don't know if he has genitalia. That's a great question. Does he have it? I'm not sure. We don't know for sure. We don't know at what point he stops. I don't know how Orko orculates. Is that the right term? Whatever. Yes, the He-Man uses his powers to defend Eternia from the evil forces of Skeletor. Skeletor's main goal is to conquer the mysterious fortress of Castle Grayskull, from which He-Man draws his powers. If successful, Skeletor would have enough power to rule Eternia and possibly the entire universe. That's interesting. So they would know for sure that he could rule Eternia, maybe the entire universe. That's tough to say. Possibly the entire. He doesn't know. Band with me, and I shall rule Eternia, and possibly the entire universe. I'll band with you if you can rule the whole universe, but if it's only possibly the universe, that's a major. There's a lot of detail there that's not being covered. It's one thing to rule a planet, another thing the entire unit. There's a huge margin of error there. You'd think they'd know that. Someone should do some research. That's, you make a campaign promise, we're going to rule Eternia. To Skeletor's making a campaign promise to his underlings. We're either going to rule Eternia and or the entire universe. That's a big budget difference right there. We're 16 minutes into this. If you're still listening to this, wow, I'm impressed. I could go on for hours, but we have to stop. I feel like all podcasts, a podcast it's like a living thing. It has its birth, its life, and its death. And I think this one was dead about 16 minutes ago. So I think I'm just going to wrap it up there. This is the end of the podcast, the end of the podcast, and the children sing and the children play. This is the end of the podcast.